John sings Candle in the Wind, with new words specially written a few days ago by Bernie Taupin.
When Elton John performed the song Candle in the Wind at Princess Diana's funeral, it was a strong show of emotions, tears, and heightened sadness. Many would attribute this to their beautiful old friendship. Others would wonder if Elton knew what the world probably didn't know.
Elton John, on the right there. Elton John, who will be singing with his partner, David Furnish, beside him.
Well, Elton has come out with a jaw-dropping revelation about Diana, and it is beyond shocking. What did he say? And why should it be regarded as important? Join us as we explore Elton John's unusual relationship with Princess Diana and the new revelation, the unexpected friendship. Elton John and Princess Diana had an interesting and somewhat under-the-radar friendship that many fans of both icons can't stop talking about. They met in the 1980s, when Diana, who had become one of the most famous women in the world, was drawn to the young, popular Elton, who had come to perform at Prince Andrew's birthday party. Elton John, known for his warm personality and deep compassion, became an unexpected but close friend to Diana, providing her a safe space away from royal protocols. Their bond was not merely one of fame, but seemed to offer both of them a kind of sanctuary amid their own struggles. They shared a bond so deep that what Elton John has come out to say about Princess Diana recently would be regarded as super important by any follower of Buckingham Palace politics. Here's an interesting detail. By 1991, Diana was admired as the crown jewel of Britain, known for her kindness, elegance, and beauty that charmed people worldwide.
Princess Diana worked to call attention to those in need. She often visited children who were in the hospital. During a trip to Pakistan in 1996, she famously cradled a young cancer patient.
But beneath this image, she faced deep personal struggles, dealing with a difficult marriage and trying to balance her own emotional needs with the pressures of royal life. This drew her to Elton, someone who also knew the highs and lows of fame. Elton John grew up in the Hollywood spotlight and faced expectations from a young age. He became a celebrated songwriter and singer, winning multiple Grammy Awards. Even with his success, his personal life was filled with struggles. He battled addiction and health issues and had rocky relationships, often appearing in the tabloids. According to Elton, his strength in facing these challenges made him a strong person, a quality Diana likely admired. But there's also the fact that Elton wasn't the only star to offer support to Diana, who often found kinship with those outside royal circles. George Michael, Freddie Mercury, and Liza Minnelli, to name a few, were among those who held Diana close, drawn to her genuine kindness and empathy. Elton also said these relationships often allowed Diana a moment of relief, letting her express herself freely and connect with people who understood the challenges of fame. Her friendship with Freddie Mercury, for example, was said to be one of light-hearted escapism. He would even help Diana disguise herself for outings, allowing her to feel like anyone else for a few hours. On a more deeper level, however, the friendship with Elton John went beyond the pedestal one would ordinarily place in any regular friendship. It went beyond what she shared with Freddie, Liza, or George Michael. It was a protection against the numerous foes Diana had to deal with in the Buckingham Palace, one of whom, surprisingly, was Prince Charles, her husband. That's shocking, right? Well, let's get into it. Protecting Diana from Charles and the palace. Behind her public image as the beloved people's princess lay a life filled with struggles. The scrutiny and pressures Princess Diana faced took a toll on her mental health. Her marriage to Prince Charles was marked by difficulties from the beginning.
Princess Diana, she was just 20 years old when she married Prince Charles, but there were signs of trouble already in the relationship even before she walked down the aisle at St. Paul's Cathedral in London.
With Charles's ongoing relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles casting a shadow over Diana's hopes for a fairy tale romance. This heartbreak, coupled with the expectations placed on her as a royal, left her feeling isolated and deeply unhappy. As Diana later openly admitted, she struggled with depression, an eating disorder, and an overwhelming sense of loneliness, even with the adoration she received from millions worldwide. Diana's willingness to discuss these struggles publicly in interviews, particularly her famous 1995 interview with the BBC, shocked the royal family and British society at large. Her frankness about her own issues with self-worth and her admission of betrayal within her marriage were a path nobody in Buckingham Palace would dare toll. Why was this the case? The British royal family has always sought to project a certain image to the public, so the press and media representation of the family was tightly controlled. This is a story for another day, but you certainly must have gotten the drift. Diana's marriage to Prince Charles was celebrated as a fairy tale, but the reality behind the scenes was far more complicated. She faced numerous challenges within the royal household, particularly with the pressures of public life and an increasingly troubled marriage. As a young mother, Diana struggled with severe postnatal depression, and her self-esteem plummeted in an environment where she often felt isolated. This part, according to Elton John, was where he came into the picture. He knew what Prince Andrew was doing to her, and he felt the best he could do for a friend was to present her a space of peace. As Diana's marriage to Prince Charles began to deteriorate,
a dashing prince sweeps a beautiful young woman off her feet and marries her in a lavish wedding. When Prince Charles married Lady Diana Spencer, the world watched, quite literally.
her friendship with Elton John grew more and more and eventually became a source of public interest. Meanwhile, in her marriage to Charles, nothing joyous was exactly happening. In fact, both partners, Princess Diana and Prince Charles, eventually admitted to infidelity, further exposing the cracks in their union. The release of tell-all biographies, including Andrew Morton's Diana, her true story in 1992, revealed the depth of Diana's suffering to a shocked public. Interestingly, Prince Charles saw the growing fondness Diana and Elton enjoyed and was envious of the dynamics. He tried everything within his power to stop the wheel of their friendship. In fact, Elton John would later discover that Princess Diana's sudden refusal to write the foreword of his book, Rock and Royalty, was due to the persuasive power of Prince Charles against the endeavor. Elton said it was super shocking to him because Diana had shown maximum enthusiasm about the project in the past, but suddenly stopped without stating a reason. Attributing the failure of their friendship to Prince Charles was a sad reality to Elton John, but it was also the truth he could not dare shy away from. The drifting apart was even much painful because their friendship had offered each of them a glimpse of freedom and emotional refuge amid their own battles. Meanwhile, according to the tell-all biography of Princess Diana Andrew Morton's Diana, her true story in 1992, while Diana would sacrifice her friendship for Prince Charles, she remained resolute in not being gagged by palace politics. Diana continued to speak openly about her emotional challenges in interviews.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
Especially the famous television interview with journalist Martin Bashir, where she admitted her struggles with self-worth and the relentless scrutiny that came with her position. By 1992, Diana and Charles formally separated, and Diana embarked on a path toward independence. Their divorce was finalized on August 28, 1996, after prolonged negotiations. This was exactly where the story took a different turn. Brace yourself for the shock. Elton John and the dying days of Diana. Though she retained her public role, Diana lost her royal title of Her Royal Highness. The divorce settlement provided her with financial security, but Diana had to forge a new identity outside the formal bounds of the monarchy. Even so, she remained a beloved figure, admired for her warmth and ability to connect with people from all walks of life. This, more importantly, gave Diana a chance to re-establish her lost friendship with Elton John. They were seen on several occasions, happy and fond of each other's company. Diana also took a unique approach to raising her 2 sons, Princes William and Harry. Determined to give them a grounded upbringing, she brought them along to hospitals, orphanages.
There was not just one admirer for the princess on Valentine's Day, but hundreds. She came to visit sick children at Great Ormond Street Hospital, where she opened a new kidney unit.
And homeless shelters to expose them to different realities beyond royal privilege. She also shared ordinary experiences with them, like riding public transportation and dining at fast food restaurants, in an attempt to instill empathy and awareness of the world outside palace walls. But even after separating from Prince Charles, Elton John notes that the worst was just about to come. What exactly happened? Diana continued to face serious issues. Paparazzi followed her constantly, and her every move was scrutinized by both fans and critics. This relentless attention intensified as she began to explore her identity outside of her royal duties. Her relationships, particularly with Dodi Fayed, became the subject of intense public interest and added to the tabloid frenzy that seemed determined to document her every private moment. Tragically, this intense media scrutiny followed her until her final moments in Paris, when something tragic happened. This incident changed everything and is saddening. Diana's life was tragically cut short on August 31, 1997, in a car accident in Paris. Her companion, Dodi Fayed, and their driver also lost their lives in the crash.
We have reports from Paris that Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed in a car accident, and that her partner, Dodi Fayed, has also been killed.
Initially, the paparazzi were blamed for the accident due to their relentless pursuit of Diana's vehicle. Later investigations, however, concluded that the driver, who had a blood alcohol level above the legal limit and had taken incompatible prescription drugs, was primarily at fault. The world was shaken by Diana's sudden passing. The royal family, known for its reserve, faced criticism for its subdued response. The sight of young Prince William and Prince Harry walking behind their mother's coffin remains one of the most poignant images from that day. As no other person could be deemed worthy of this feat, Sir Elton John performed a rewritten version of Candle in the Wind at the ceremony, singing, "Goodbye, England's Rose, may you ever grow in our hearts." The song, touching hearts worldwide, became the best-selling single in British music history for multiple years. According to Elton, the death of Diana was the end of a friendship that stood the test of time and sailed through stormy waters. One would wonder what similarities these two individuals shared to have maintained this long-term companionship. Well, aside from the fact that Diana's extraordinary achievements demonstrated why she was, and still is, so beloved, her friendship with Elton was built on their shared love for humanity and community service. For example, Elton John is passionate about AIDS control and has invested tons of millions into its advocacy. Amid the 1980s AIDS crisis, Diana became one of the first public figures to visibly advocate for patients at a time when fear, misunderstanding, and stigma were pervasive. This was an act that resonated so well with Elton. In 1987, she officially opened the UK's first dedicated AIDS ward at Middlesex Hospital, stepping into a role that most avoided. It was here that Diana defied convention by shaking hands, ungloved, with an AIDS patient.
As she entered, to the delight of the staff, she clearly wasn't wearing gloves. And she shook hands with all the nurses, doctors, and all 10 patients on the ward.
An act broadcast worldwide. Her gesture debunked the common myth that AIDS could be spread by touch, which many believed at the time, and emphasized a message of compassion over fear. The powerful symbolism of that handshake resonated globally, shifting perceptions about AIDS patients, but more importantly, swept Elton completely off his feet. Also, in one of her most famous humanitarian acts, Princess Diana took a bold step, literally, onto a landmine field in Angola. Visiting the war-torn country with the Halo Trust, a British charity focused on mine clearance, Diana's involvement significantly propelled the movement for an international ban on landmines, leading to the Ottawa Treaty's signing just months after her death. In 2019, her legacy was honored as her son, Prince Harry, retraced her steps on the same Angolan soil, embodying the mission Diana began. Her bravery and compassion not only reshaped how the world viewed landmine issues, but also inspired a humanitarian cause that endures to this day. What do you think was the underlying issue of why the marriage of such a great person as Princess Diana took such a downward turn? But Charles's ambiguous statement, "Whatever in love means."
Whatever in love means.
Well, it obviously means two very happy people.
Yes.
Once again, congratulations.
Well, from us, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Prompted many to speculate about his actual thoughts. Standing on the brink of marriage, Prince Charles was conflicted about himself. A strong sense of obligation to the royal family overcame him, and he began to view himself less as a man searching for real love and more as a prince looking for a good marriage. He was drawn to Diana's charms, but his true feelings remained for Camilla, his ex-girlfriend.
Who are you referring to?
Camilla.
Why would I care about her?
Because I care about her! Morning, noon, and night I care about her!
Diana was a very beautiful lady who's to be married at quite a young age. Her father had advised her to marry whomever she loves, and she was convinced about Charles. Charles departed from his recently engaged partner in March 1981 to spend 5 weeks traveling by plane to Australia and New Zealand. After his departure, Diana was observed sobbing at Heathrow Airport. She later claimed that it wasn't because of his departure, but rather because, just before he left, he had made a heartbreaking phone call to Camilla Parker Bowles. The royal couple got married in July of 1981. It was a momentous occasion, the lavish event of the century. Diana wore an Elizabeth and David Emanuel dress in their Westminster Abbey wedding, which was broadcasted to an estimated 750 million viewers on July 29th. Before walking the aisle, Diana voiced her reservations. Just a few days before his wedding to Diana, Charles had one final lunch with his ex, Camilla Parker, during which he gifted her a bracelet inscribed with the letters G and F. Diana found this bracelet along with a hoard of other jewelry Charles had ordered as presents for a number of women with whom he had been close during his bachelor years, as a way of thanking them for their companionship. Diana stormed out of the office, blown into a jealous rage. Diana's sisters recall her expressing doubts and unhappiness about the marriage. Their father, Earl Spencer, also played a crucial role in persuading Diana to reconsider her decision to cancel the wedding. He calmed her down and pointed out the potential consequences of breaking off the engagement so close to the wedding date, citing it as an act of gross discourtesy to the prince and the royal family. Later on, this unresolved love would become a major source of conflict in her marriage. A lot of people believed that Charles picked Diana because she was the ideal royal wife, a lady noble enough for the family and capable of producing heirs to carry on the tradition. From the moment Diana came into the public eye, particularly after her widely publicized lavish wedding, she was the subject of constant media attention. Outsiders may find the royal life attractive, but it comes with invasive media attention. The intensity of this increased when Diana decided not to include the word obey in her wedding vows. Her daring action, which was her first act of defiance within the royal family, sparked a media frenzy. Perhaps this was due to her experience in the events leading to the wedding, but that was only the beginning of her troubles. Diana's vision of a fairy tale vanished immediately after the wedding. They didn't spend much time together due to the demanding responsibilities of royal duty and Charles's lack of emotional support.
You didn't believe she was dead?
For a long time. I just refused to accept that she was gone. Part of, she would never do this to us, but also part of, maybe this is all part of a plan. Quite a severe head injury, but she was very much still alive on the back seat. And those people that caused the accident, instead of helping, were taking photographs of her dying on the back seat. And then those photographs made their way back to news desks in this country.
Princess Diana, the people's princess, stepped into the royal spotlight with her marriage to Prince Charles.
Ostensibly no, but given the fact that the Princess of Wales believes that Prince Charles's friendship with another woman, Camilla Parker Bowles, has cast a long shadow over that marriage, must be considered when you look at the failure of this 11-year union.
Despite her doubts about the hasty proposal, she saw it as a way to escape her troubled family. But the royal life was anything but a fairy tale. Her marriage to Charles brought to light many secrets, and she faced unkind treatment from the royal family. Distraught by infidelity and cruelty, Diana sought revenge, only to tragically die in a car crash in 1997. Now, decades later, her son is revealing secrets about Charles. Why is he breaking his silence? Princess Diana's marriage to the royal family and the controversies that trailed her life after brought her to the limelight. but she had quite an eventful life even before then. Let's delve into when and how it all started. Diana was born on the 1st of July, 1961, to Edward John Spencer, the Viscount Althorp, and Frances Ruth Burke Roche, who later became known as the Honorable Frances Shand Kidd. She was born as Diana Frances Spencer, and later became Lady Diana Spencer in 1975.
Above all, we give thanks for the life of a woman. I'm so proud to be able to call my sister. The unique, the complex, the extraordinary and irreplaceable Diana, whose beauty, both internal and external, will never be extinguished from our minds.
After her father inherited the Earl Spencer title, her connection to the royal family is evident in her place of birth. Princess Diana was born at Park House, a home that her parents rented on Queen Elizabeth II's estate in Sandringham, England.
The former home of Elizabeth's head gardener on her Sandringham estate can be rented for about $400 a night next February for a minimum of 3 nights.
The royal family frequently holidayed at the neighboring Sandringham House.
London. Queen Mary left Marlborough House for Sandringham, where the royal Christmas was to be spent as a family party.
And Diana played with Princes Andrew and Edward. With such a noble background, how did Diana's early life lead to her eventual fate and controversial life? Get ready for the most epic moment of the video. Diana was the youngest daughter of her parents, and she had 2 older sisters, Jane Fellows and Sarah McCorquodale, and a younger brother, Charles Spencer, 9th Earl Spencer. She had another brother, John, but he died in infancy a year before Diana was born.
From her mother's devastating loss of a baby boy,
she was never allowed to hold her first son.
Both of her grandmothers, Cynthia Spencer and Ruth Roche, were ladies-in-waiting to Queen Mother Elizabeth. After losing John, her parents were hoping for another boy to carry on the family line, and so they didn't choose a name for a week after her birth until they settled on Diana Frances after her mother and Lady Diana Spencer, a great-aunt who was also a prospective Princess of Wales as a potential bride for Frederick, Prince of Wales. Diana was also nicknamed Dooch within the family because of her duchess-like attitude in childhood. On August 30th, 1961, Diana was baptized at St. Mary Magdalene Church, Sandringham. Despite her birth as the 3rd child and 4th born of the family, her parents still wanted a male to be their heir, and this really put a strain on their marriage, especially after Lady Althorp was sent to Harley Street clinics in London to determine the cause of her inability to produce a male heir. Her younger brother Charles would later describe this sole event as humiliating and a dreadful time for his parents. It was in fact probable that this was the root cause of their divorce.
Paul Workman now on the world's most famous couple, heading for the world's most famous divorce.
Diana was 7 years old when her parents divorced, and her mother went on to marry Peter Shand Kidd in 1969. Diana still lived with her mother in London immediately after her parents' separation in 1967. But after going on holiday to her father's home during the Christmas holiday that same year, her father, Lord Althorp, refused to let his daughter return to London. Shortly after, he won custody of Diana with the support of his former mother-in-law, Lady Fermoy. In 1976, Diana's father married Rain, Countess of Dartmouth. Their step-family relationship wasn't typical. Diana didn't get along with her stepmother and often called her a bully, even pushing her downstairs once. She described her childhood as very unhappy and unstable. After her father inherited the Earl Spencer title in 1975, she became Lady Diana. The family moved from Park House to Althorp, their estate in Northamptonshire. For schooling, Diana was initially homeschooled by her governess, Gertrude Allen. Later, she attended Sillafurled Private School in King's Lynn, Norfolk, beginning her formal education there. This upbringing shaped Diana's early years, marked by family tensions and transitions. Her strained relationship with her stepmother and the move to Althorp were significant events that influenced her upbringing and perspective on life. When she was 9, she moved to Riddlesworth Hall School, an all-girls boarding school near Thetford. Later on, in 1973, she joined her sisters at West Heath Girls' School in Sevenoaks, Kent. But her academics largely suffered because of her bad performance in school, which some say is probably a result of her strained childhood and her parents' divorce and remarriage, which she largely witnessed. She even failed her O-levels twice. In spite of this, Diana stood out in terms of community service, and this outstanding spirit was recognized with an award from her school, West Heath. What she lacked in academics, she made up for in community engagement. She left West Heath when she was 16, and up until that point, her brother Charles says she was a very shy young lady. She also had great skills, including her excellent musical ability as a skilled pianist.
It's a well-known story told in an unexpected way, set to music on a Broadway stage.
I choose a fresh new start.
Diana the musical is framed around the Princess of Wales' relationship with Prince Charles.
She was an excellent swimmer and diver, and she also studied ballet and tap dance. It was only academics that was not her forte. Between 1979 and 1981, Diana lived at Coleherne Court in Chelsea, London. In 1978, she started a mini-career in line with her passion for children, working as a nanny for Philippa and Jeremy Whittaker in Hampshire. She attended a finishing school in Rougemont, Switzerland for one term, but left after Easter 1978. Back in London, she shared her mother's flat with two friends from school. In London, Diana took an advanced cooking course and worked various low-paying jobs. She was a dance instructor for youth until a skiing accident caused her to miss 3 months of work. Then, she worked as a playgroup preschool assistant, did cleaning for her sister Sarah, and acted as a hostess at parties. She also babysat for the Robertsons, an American family in London, and worked as a nursery teacher's assistant at the Young England School in Pimlico. In July 1979, her mother bought her a flat at Coleherne Court as an 18th birthday present. She lived there with 3 flatmates until February 25, 1981. It's amazing how she got involved with Prince Charles after such an eventful life. Royal marriage, sons' births, and lingering controversies. Diana and Prince Charles met in 1977 in unusual circumstances.
The love story between Prince Charles and Lady Diana is particularly steeped in royal history, around which many rumors have surfaced up to this day.
As Charles was dating her sister Sarah, none of them could have imagined their future together. Charles thought she was jolly, and after his relationship with Sarah ended in 1978, they stayed friends. Diana attended Charles's 30th birthday party in Buckingham Palace in November 1978, and in January 1979, she met Charles again at a weekend shooting party at Sandringham as a guest of Queen Elizabeth II. Later in the summer of 1980, Diana and Prince Charles met again at a house party hosted by her friend Philip de Pass in New Grove. After observing her shy nature and wise way of speaking, Charles considered her a potential girlfriend, despite their 13-year age gap. While sitting on a bale of hay at a post-polo barbecue, Diana sympathized with Charles over the loss of his great-uncle, Lord Mountbatten. Her comforting words struck a nerve, and he decided to pursue a relationship with her.
It's always easy to be smart in hindsight, but when you look at this couple's soap opera of body language throughout their marriage and before their marriage.
Did her words make him fall in love? Don't miss the next scene where things get even more interesting. After this, Prince was keen to spend more time with Diana, and he invited her to Balmoral to join him and a group of friends there for a summer holiday. This delighted Diana in no small measure, as she was beginning to adore Charles. After meeting about 13 times, Prince Charles proposed to Diana. He was said to be largely influenced by his father, Prince Philip, who TD'd him in a memo to stop playing the field and get married. His father had said, "You either marry this girl or let her go." Being confused as ever, he took this to mean that his father wanted her to marry Diana, and he proposed to her on February 3, 1981, after a few months of dating at Windsor Castle. Diana was so surprised that she first thought it a joke, but it was real. Prince Charles was damn serious. The formal engagement press call was on February 24, 1981, when after Beijing asked by reporters if they are in love, Diana had replied with certainty while Charles had said, "Whatever in love means." In March 1981, Charles flew to Australia and New Zealand for 5 weeks, leaving his newly betrothed behind. She's spotted crying at Heathrow Airport upon his departure, not because she is sad, but because before he left, he had taken a phone call with Camilla Parker Bowles, his ex. Notwithstanding all these, they got married on July 39, 1981 at St. Paul's Cathedral, with 2,650 guests. and a television audience of around 750 million people watching. Charles was wary of going through with the marriage, but he didn't want to let the royal family down. It would look as though Prince Charles was more eager to find a qualified bride than to actually find a love match. Although he was struck by some of her qualities, it wasn't necessarily love, considering that he was still very much in sync with his ex-girlfriend Camilla, a major problem that would later cause much problems in the marriage. Some believe that Prince Charles married Diana because he needed someone who would fit into the royals' family requirement of a prince, and also to produce his own heirs to the royal throne. Princess Diana's problems began right on her wedding day, because the royal family is a subject of intense media attention. It comes with the status, and anyone who is getting into the royal family must be ready to face the odds. Media attention had always been on Prince Charles ever since he started dating. Every of his love interests have been a subject of scrutiny by the press on whether or not they were fit for the royal throne. Diana was not an exception. When on their wedding day, she broke tradition by omitting the word obey from her vows, and it generated a lot of attention and criticism from the media all at once, launching her first hand into one of the many trials of the royal family. After the couple's fairy tale wedding, Diana felt overwhelmed by her royal duties and the intense media coverage of nearly every aspect of her life. The many duties and the lack of affection from the prince meant that they spent little time together, and the princess was not having it easy. Due to this, in January 1982, 12 weeks into her pregnancy with William, Diana deliberately threw herself down the stairs at the Sandringham House royal residence in Norfolk because she had eating disorder, bulimia, and was feeling so despondent and inadequate in her marriage to Charles. But the baby was unharmed. There was a ray of hope after the birth of their first son, William, on June 21, 1982, at St. Mary's Hospital in London, and Prince Charles, having attended the broth, described the experience as astonishing. The birth of their first son deepened the relationship between Diana and the prince a little. Diana experienced postpartum depression after her pregnancy with William and found the intense media attention surrounding her pregnancy difficult to bear. In 1983, when William was just 9 months old, Diana couldn't bear to leave him behind for a 6-week tour of Australia and New Zealand. She broke royal tradition by taking him along, sparking a mixed reaction from the press, from harsh criticism to applause from parts of the public. Then, on September 15, 1984, Princess Diana gave birth to Prince Harry, with Charles by her side. Interestingly, 6 weeks before Harry's birth, Charles had thought Diana was expecting a girl. When Harry, a boy, arrived instead, Diana kept it a surprise from Charles, perhaps enjoying the closeness it brought them. But Charles's disappointment over Harry's gender and his hair color strained their marriage further. Diana felt resentful, beginning a journey of secrecy and revenge. This bitterness lingered, and years later Prince William began leaking royal secrets, drawing widespread media attention. It begs the question, why did Charles break the royal rule of secrecy, and why did both sons turn away from their father? Stay tuned, the most exciting part is just around the corner. Prince William's unveiled King Charles's secrets. In the recent royal biography Endgame, written by the royal analyst Omid Scobie, secrets and explosive claims revealed in the book about King Charles, marriage to Diana, and even under his rule were attributed to have been leaked by Prince William's. Interestingly, some claim that it is due to his overambition to become king one day that he broke the sacred code of the royal family, keeping the mouth sealed and keeping secrets. The secrets released by him corroborated the many suspicions of there being a foul play surrounding the death of Princess Diana, while also adding fresh perspectives to the long-forgotten life of Princess Diana. The news was that he leaked private information about both Harry, his brother, and King Charles. Princess Diana's death had been subject to one conspiracy theory or the other, and the most apparent one was that the driver was intoxicated. But more than this, the princess's suspicion of the royal family always plotting against her during her lifetime did not help matters. During her frustrating times with the prince, she believed at some point that Charles wanted her out of the way in order to marry his true love, Camilla. So, Many implied that her death might not be a natural accident after all. One major open secret of Prince Charles was his affair with Camilla Parker Bowlers, both before and after the marriage with Princess Diana. On finding out, Camilla was a bone in Camilla's throat, coupled with the loneliness, extreme media attention, and the mental health issues that Diana faced after the marriage. On the Monday before her wedding, she had discovered a beautiful bracelet her future husband intended to give to Camilla. Diana considered calling off the wedding after discovering the bracelet, which confirmed her worst suspicions about Charles's relationship with Camilla. But after lunch with her older sisters, she was persuaded otherwise, telling her that it was too late to chicken out. Tremendously unhappy in their marriage by 1986, both Charles and Diana had extramarital affairs. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Charles maintained constant communication with Camilla, who was also unhappily married to a promiscuous husband. Their affair reignited despite her troubled marriage, a fact Prince Charles admitted to his biographer Jonathan Dimbleby in 1994.
She was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage.
The villain Prince Harry is referring to is Camilla, King Charles's wife and now Queen Consort.
Meanwhile, rumors swirled that Diana had an affair with Army Captain James Hewitt, possibly in response to her own marital unhappiness. Between 1987 and 1992, their troubled marriage garnered intense media scrutiny. Diana's absence from Charles's family summer trip in 1987 sparked headlines about a royal rift. Public appearances often revealed their distant and unhappy demeanor, further fueling speculation about their relationship. The media closely followed their every move, analyzing their interactions and adding to the public's fascination with their marital struggles.